Welcome, everybody, to another edition of our very, very live, and I mean live, this is happening in real time, our question and answer, where we allow you to ask questions. We do our best to try to either answer them or avoid the kind of answer that would get me canceled. And as we have had, Pam Case, our senior producer for the Huckabee Show here on TBN, is going to be handling the questions and monitoring those. This has been kind of fun to do this past several weeks.
I so enjoyed this, and I love the opportunity to give the folks that maybe view from afar during the course of the weeks, have a direct access to you. I love that.
You love it because you think they're going to put me on the spot, don't you?
Well, because we don't tell you in advance what the questions are.
I have no idea.
That's by design.
And, normally, we tape our show here in the theater in Hendersonville, Tennessee, which, by the way, if you haven't come, we'd love to have you. But we tape the show typically on Friday night, and it airs on Saturday and Sunday. This, however, is as it happens. So, if I do something really horrible on a Friday night, we can edit it. You'll never know it happened. If I do something really terrible now, you're going to be the first people to see it. So I know what you're doing. You're taping. And if I really fall flat on my face, do something awful, you will put it all over social media and it'll go viral and you'll get credit for it. So with that said, let's just see how good or how bad I am today.
Okay, we're going to start with some clarification,
if
you would provide it, please, to T.L. White. Maybe you can clear something up for me. Is the DOJ a law enforcement branch, or is it a legislative branch of the government? And if law enforcement, why are they not doing something about our southern border, or do they have to wait to go ahead from the great dictator or puppet master?
Ooh, wow. Well, that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
It is an executive branch agency. It is not legislative. And as an executive branch agency, their job is law enforcement. However, they do not have immediate jurisdiction at the border. That is handled by the Customs and Border Patrol. If you're at the border, it's the CBP, that's what it is, yes. Customs and Border Patrol, CBP, that's right. But once you're in the interior of the country, then it's the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, are better known as ICE. So that's why these are two agencies. Gets confusing to a lot of people, and all of those agencies, or those two agencies rather, Border Patrol and ICE, are under the larger banner of Homeland Security, which is a cabinet level agency at the federal government, all executive branch. By the way, we need to tell people that they can send their questions in, and I think there's some way, is it called Super Chat?
Yeah, Super Chat, and it'll move them up to the top if they throw a little cash your way.
Wow,
well, not your way, but
that seems like, I don't get it.
We don't get it.
Maybe I should. I think, boy, if that came to me, they'd get right to the top.
We'd buy a big cake.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. A shout out. We've got to do this as we go through the live chat. Is we've got some folks watching from Texas. So I Will Live Again, 1992. Mark Richardson from Washington State. Tracy S. from Lansing, Michigan, and Pete Stroud from the UK in Portsmouth.
Nice.
So they are coming.
And it's it's like 7 hours or 6 hours, however long it is from Central Time Zone here to the UK. So it's over in the evening there too.
And I love this because Chad Smith is on the couch. I just want you to know, watching from the couch. You just need to know that. So, let's ask another question. Avoid, let's make sure I say this right. Tim says, guard what God has entrusted to you. Avoid godless, foolish discussions with those who oppose you with their so-called knowledge. I guess that's more of a statement wanted to make today. And let's check out what Richard Brown says. Mike, how can you possibly have critical race theory when without the white vote, President Obama would have never become president?
I hope you watch my monologue this weekend on the Huckabee Show on TBN. You're going to hear me talk exactly about that because I cannot tell you more emphatically, and that's so good that you brought it up. Black people in the country make up about 15% of the population. Yet Barack Obama got elected not once but twice. How? White people voted for him. That's how he got elected. This is not a racist country. If it were, he would never have been elected. And he certainly wouldn't have won the Iowa caucuses because Iowa is 95% white. So this nonsense about systemic racism and how it permeates and how people of color don't have a chance. Look, I'm a white guy. I'm the one who didn't win in 2008. So be sure and watch the show this weekend. I think you'll enjoy the opening monologue.
Okay, we have a super chat hello from Tracy S., who says to us, hello, please be Michigan's governor.
Tracy, you definitely need someone to step in place of Gretchen Whitmer. I'll be honest, I just marvel at some of the decisions that she has made and the incredible, and I normally don't say this about governors because I have this sort of soft spot in my heart for people who have taken that job, for having done it. But honestly, I don't know how the people of Michigan put up with this. She flies down to Florida on taxpayer dime and enjoys herself, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But she tells everybody in Michigan they can't go anywhere. They can't go out and have a vacation. And if they do, she's going to put you under the jail. She shuts down churches, which I find abominable. During the time when she had a total lockdown and told people they couldn't go to lakes and go fishing, her husband went fishing. I hate hypocrisy. So if you have a standard, don't impose it on others if you don't live under it yourself. Because I believe this about leadership. Leaders never ask others to do what they're unwilling to do themselves. That's just a simple principle of leadership, and she has violated it time and time again. God bless you and good luck over there in Michigan.
All right, so Gerald Powell is asking us, why hasn't the Senate vetoed open borders?
Why hasn't the Senate vetoed? Well, the Senate doesn't get to veto. The only thing the Senate can do is to pass laws. Then they have to go to the House, and then the president has to sign them. The president, and only the president, the executive branch, can veto a bill if the House and Senate passes it. Now, what the Senate could do is they could do some things. For example, they could defund certain activities. Of course, what they need to do is not defund the border. They need to make sure we have plenty of people there to enforce it. The Senate could fund the border wall that, frankly, is pretty close to being finished, but President Trump didn't quite get finished with it. He would have been finished with it had he stayed. But Joe Biden came in and immediately said, cease all construction on it. I mean, it makes no sense. By the way, be sure as you look at the bottom of your screen, you can hit the subscribe button. That means that you will get access to all of our YouTube videos. The notification bell, hit that. That way we'll let you know when we have brand new videos coming up. And we always welcome your comments, and you can add those as well. And like the video, that sort of lets people know that it's worth watching. And then share it with your friends. All of those things. Now, I just gave you about 6 instructions. So time for another question.
Also, and please share it. Share with everybody. Let them know you're right here. Susie has written into us this afternoon live, Governor, why isn't Black Lives Matter and Antifa being held accountable for the $3 billion in damages, over 20 deaths caused by the rioting? Antifa BLM are rioting in Portland today. When will Biden classify them as terrorists?
He probably never will, because he is appealing to the people on the far left, which is tragic. Look, I don't care what end of the spectrum you're on. When you destroy other people's property, that's criminal. That's not a protest. That's criminal activity, and it's destructive, and other people have to pay. And I hear people say, well, it's a victimless crime. It is not a victimless crime. If you live in a city that is hit by continuous riots, here's what happens in that city. The cost of policing goes up. The cost of the court system goes up. The cost of incarceration for people go up. If they're willing to arrest them, some of these cities are not. But here's something that happens to every single person who lives in that community. Your insurance rates go up. Everybody's insurance rates go up. You're a business owner, you pay more. You're a homeowner, you pay more. That's how it works. So this nonsense that it didn't really cost anybody anything is not true. And I wish I could be a little more encouraging and tell you that I think that there's going to be a concerted effort to go after these criminals, and that's what I call them, because that's what they are, criminals who hurt people, who burn buildings down, and who try to burn other buildings down, and who attack and assault police officers. But under this current administration, I'm not really confident that that's going to happen. And it's a tragedy because it only invites more of it.
Okay, Governor, we've got some shout outs from literally around the world.
Good.
So Celine Stroop from North Carolina is watching with us today. Mary Haddock from Florence, Alabama, and Joanna Rowitz is coming to us from what she calls, quote, bankrupt South Africa.
Wow.
Okay. So I actually have a quote here I just saw that I wanted to share with you and get you to react. Oh, economic collapse. Wrote this, I guess that's the name. Nowadays, respond to this. Nowadays is a good time to be old.
Interesting. Well, then life is good for me. I think I understand what you mean by that. And I get it, because those of us who are older, who are sort of in the glide path toward the final landing, which is a euphemistic way of saying we're sort of on the closing end of life. The fact is, we lived in a time when Americans enjoyed free speech. We had an imperfect country. I saw a lot of things as a kid that were not good and healthy. There was horrible things that happened in this country, even in my lifetime. Certainly there was racism, but I've seen us get past it. I've seen us grow from it. I've seen us become a different country and a more open, welcoming, free country. But what I never saw was the kind of anarchy that would actually be approved by political figures. In the 60s, when I was a kid growing up, we had riots, we had violence, we had all sorts of horrible things happening. But here's the difference between then and now. Then nobody condoned it. And when I say nobody, no elected official, no prominent people in the academic world, there were maybe a few, but generally, corporations absolutely didn't go out there and support that kind of thing. Here's what's different today. You got major corporations that are supporting this stuff. They're paying millions of dollars to Black Lives Matter, which is a Marxist organization. They are supporting with their wokeness to try to make sure that everybody knows they're cool. And you've got elected officials, from members of Congress to mayors to governors, who are out there applauding and supporting the rioters and not standing up and supporting those small business owners. That's what's different. And I think if that's what you mean, agree with you 100%.
All right, let's go with Il Friedman, has written, "Hi, Mike, from South Africa. I live in a residential building where the residents have sat in front of the TV watching CNN for 5 years, and they have Trump derangement syndrome. How can I break their brainwashing?"
Find a way to unplug CNN from the building. CNN is not just corrupt. It's become a joke. In the U.S., their ratings have fallen by 70% just since January. I mean, they're in complete free fall. And the reason is they've lost any real semblance of credibility and integrity. They are so much in the tank for the far left that you can't watch CNN with the sense of, I'm going to find out what's happening in the news. What you're going to find out is, what does the far left want me to think today? Not know. What do they want me to think? Because they are about driving your opinion, not about providing you with facts so that you can make your own opinion. Look, good journalism just tells you the story as it is. And good journalism doesn't try to lead you to a conclusion. It tells you what has happened and lets you make the conclusion.
All right, let's talk about midterms. Now this is from David Hockett. What should Republicans' game plan be for midterms? Should they embrace Trumpism, or should they focus on broader issues such as the economy or immigration?
Well, I think Republicans need to focus on what they're for, not just what they're against. Look in the rearview mirror, talk about what they're against and the things that did happen very positively under President Trump. But this is not just a referendum on Donald Trump, because he's not on the ballot in 2022. What people should embrace is what Donald Trump stood for. He stood for America. He stood for America first. That's a winning message. And he stood for standing up against China and not allowing China to overrun our foreign, our domestic companies and corporations and take jobs away from Americans. He stood for energy independence. What I'm trying to say is that it's the policies of Donald Trump, not the personality of Donald Trump, that most Republicans not only have, but continue to embrace. So it's not about Donald Trump as a person. It's about the things that he brought to the forefront and to the table that we embrace. For me, it's a pro-life position. That's important to me. I care that we value every human life as having meaning and worth. And I truly believe that there's no such thing as a worthless human being, a child that is disposable or expendable. And I so appreciated that more than any president in history, Donald Trump helped the Republican Party put that front and center, not just out to the side and say, vote for me, I'm pro-life, but I'm never going to do anything about it. No, he actually did things about it, unlike anyone else ever has. And so what I'm saying is the policies we ought to focus on. And that's what I encourage Republicans to do. Focus on the policies. Let me remind you, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so we'll let you know when we're going to have more videos. Be sure and leave us a comment, and also let us know you like what you're watching and share it with others.
And there's still time. We've got still about 8 minutes or so left before we wrap up for today. So time to get your questions answered right here and direct access to the governor. Larry Croft has written us, please comment, Governor, on the Secretary of Defense forming the commission to purge the military of Trump supporters that he calls white racists.
Well, I think that's just nonsense. I mean, there are a lot of people in the military across the spectrum. You have people on the right, you have people on the left, and people in the middle. Look, the military's purpose is not to be political, and it shouldn't be. The one thing the Secretary of Defense ought to be working on is keeping the military from having a political perspective, because the military ultimately answers to the commander-in-chief, but it answers to the greater sense of the American people. Let's be very clear. What I'm about to say, blunt, you've heard it before, but it's just true. Purpose of the military is to kill people and break things. It's not to build schools. It's not to make a street. It's not to go out and be diplomats. That's why we have a State Department. The military's job is to kill people and break things. Kill the people that would kill us first, and to stop those from killing us, and to break the things that would hurt us. That's their job. We care about lethality in the military. We don't care about politicization of the military. And so anything that Secretary of Defense does ought to be about how to make the men and women of our military more of a lethal force and less of a social justice warrior for them.
Okay, we're going to break off some of the subjects we've been talking about and go with a question from Vanessa Kammerer that's asking something very personal. Mr. Huckabee, did you get a new puppy?
Not yet, but I'm going to. And it's a matter of scheduling. We're in the process of moving to a house that we bought and had a bunch of damage because of ice storm and burst pipes. So we want to get kind of things physically settled. And but there's no doubt. I mean, it's not about if, it's when. And I can't wait. Actually, I want to get not one, but 2 puppies, because I think dogs do so much better when they have another pet to socialize with. And when we have to be gone, you know, they're not alone, and they like that. And for me, the more dogs, the merrier.
Yeah. So for those that maybe tuned in and didn't know, you had lost both of your dogs within like a 3-week period.
Both of them died within 3 weeks. One was 15 and a half. The other was 14. So they were old, but it was really sad when the oldest one, Sonic, our Shih Tzu, died. Toby, who was the Cavalier King Charles, he was just so lost. I mean, without his brother, he had never experienced life without, for a long time, 2 other brothers, our lab, and then, of course, with Sonic, the Shih Tzu. So you could tell he just was completely lost without the other dog.
Heartbroken.
Yeah, he was. It was just sad. And I'm still heartbroken, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Still emotional about it. So
yeah. So if you're with Governor and me, we're always going to talk about dogs at least once, right?
Always.
Okay. Yeah. Sarah Petty writes, Mike, do you think America is now a banana republic, given the fact that our FBI and DOJ did nothing about the mass voter fraud that Biden admitted to?
I don't know that Biden admitted to massive vote fraud. I'm not familiar with something that he has admitted to there. Are we a banana republic? Not yet, but I'm worried about our senior institutions that are supposed to enforce law and to do it without regard to party or race our ethnicity, our viewpoint. I think we are dangerously close to having a justice system that targets some people because of their point of view and looks the other way. I'll give you a quick example. Donald Trump is being targeted, pursued, persecuted by the Southern District of New York prosecutor Cy Vance Jr. That's not an attempt to bring justice. That's an attempt to just haunt this man until they can find something if they can. And if they can't, they'll prosecute him anyway. Just like Congress did with 2 totally phony, false impeachments. Look at the other end of the spectrum. Hunter Biden, his laptop, which nobody has refuted the authenticity of, shows that not only did he have just disgusting activities going on in terms of drugs, women, getting women pregnant, and now this week we learned he regularly used racist comments. I don't hear anybody on the left saying that Hunter Biden ought to answer for that, or that we, should try to deal with it. We find that his dad, the president, outright lied about saying he never had anything to do with any of Hunter's business dealings. We have photos from the Cafe Milano in D.C. where Hunter Biden arranged a dinner with his father and some Chinese business people to sit down and talk about business. So to say that it never happened, the photos prove that it did. That's a double standard of justice, and it's disgusting. We shouldn't have it.
Okay, we're counting down. We have less than 3 minutes, but we do have time, probably a couple more questions.
Okay.
Terry Wells writes, good morning. Here's my question. Has a vice president ever been relieved of their position for not doing their required job?
Well, Spiro Agnew got relieved of his, but that was for criminal indictment back in 1971. I can't remember exactly the year. I remember it. That's when Gerald Ford was made vice president under Richard Nixon, who was president. But I don't recall that a vice president has been sent out, and I don't know what the process would be. He could be impeached by Congress, but if not impeached, unless the president demanded his resignation or her resignation in the case of the current one, not sure what other process there would be.
Okay, one more question I think we have time for today. Michael Schaefer writes, Governor Huckabee, where does H.R. 1 stand right now in the Senate?
H.R. 1 is fraud. It is an unconstitutional bill that would put the federal government in charge of our elections. And the reason that's a problem is because the Constitution says that that's a job for the states, not for the federal government. And if you think the federal government's done a great job of everything else, I'm sure you'd love having them in charge of the elections, but it would be a disaster. So the Democrats paint it as election integrity. It is not. They present it as it's about access. It is not. It's about control and manipulation of the elections, and we need to make sure it doesn't pass. We want to thank you for joining us today. Pam Kay, senior producer for the Huckabee Show here on TBN, is with me. We do the questions and answers. We hope to keep doing it week by week. If you show that you like this, be sure and leave your questions in the comments section. You can also email us. To do that, go to my2cents@tbn.tv. That's the email address. Always, we ask you to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let us know that you've enjoyed it. By the way, be sure and watch the show tomorrow night, 8 and 11 Eastern, 7 and 10 Central. It is a great show. We have Congresswoman Elise Stefanik from New York. We have a guy, Ivan Pacell, who juggles with sharp knives, and the country singer Clint Black among our guests tomorrow. It's going to be a great, great show. We thank you for joining us. Hope to see you next week. And until then, live from our theater and studio in Hendersonville, Tennessee, thank you, goodbye, and God bless.